Good morning, class. We'll continue with the chapter, the Delhi Sultanate. Up till now, we learnt about the different sources from which we come to know about the Delhi Sultanate. Main sources are the inscriptions, the monuments. When we talk about monuments, especially we talk about Qutub Minar. Now, when we talk about Qutub Minar, then it is imperative that we talk about the slave dynasty, which was founded by Qutbuddin Aibak. He was one of the notable rulers of the slave dynasty, followed by his son-in-law Iltutmish and Razia Sultan, daughter of Iltutmish. Then we learnt about the Khilji Dynasty, founded by Jalaluddin Khilji, but the notable ruler was Alauddin Khilji, who is known for his market regulations, Deccan expedition, and his strict measures against nobility. Now, the reforms, the military reforms and the revenue reforms that Alauddin Khilji undertook, he is renowned for them, especially the Dag, where the horses were branded, and the ID which was issued to the soldiers of his army. Notable also are the revenue reforms which were introduced by Alauddin Khilji. Today we are going to study about Tughluq dynasty, founded by Ghazi Malik, who was the governor of Dipalpur and he ascended the throne after Alauddin Khilji. Now, the ascension to the throne by Ghazi Malik had its own ups and downs. In 1320, he took the title of Ghiyasuddin Tughluq Shah and began the Tughluq dynasty. So, Ghazi Malik, he took the title of Ghiyasuddin Tughluq Shah and founded the Tughluq dynasty. Now, unfortunately, he died during the collapse of a pavilion built in his honor in 1325. He could not achieve much in the short period of these 5 years. After his death, his son Muhammad bin Tughluq, initially his name was Jona Khan, ascended the throne and took the title of Muhammad bin Tughluq. Now, Muhammad bin Tughluq was one of the most remarkable rulers of his age. He was a learned scholar. He had great interest in religion and philosophy. He had also mastered mathematics, astronomy, logic and physical sciences. He was a lover of Persian literature, music, fine arts and calligraphy. He was also fluent in different languages. Now, in history, there are remarkable achievements. But then Muhammad bin Tughluq is known as a wise fool. Why a wise fool? Because his policies, because he was a learned person, his policies were sound, but the implementation of those particular policies was not correct. And as a result, not just the people of the kingdom suffered, but the kingdom or the dynasty also suffered. So let us quickly take a look at the transfer of capital. The first foolish decision one of the major foolish decisions that Muhammad bin Tughluq took. During Muhammad bin Tughluq's reign, the empire had also spread to the south. He shifted his capital to Devgiri near modern Aurangabad and renamed it Daulatabad. He did it for the following reasons. Now, the reasons why he wanted to shift his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad was very sound. Let us see the reasons. It was centrally located from where he could control the Deccan territory. So, from his seat in Daulatabad, Muhammad bin Tughluq could keep control over his northern as well as southern territories. Then, during that time when he ordered the capital to be shifted, Delhi was in the grip of a severe famine, and Delhi was constantly threatened by the Mongol invasions. These people, they used to come, loot and then plunder and then go back. So these 3 reasons were sound enough for shifting of the capital. But the foolishness was ordering the people of Delhi, including religious heads, to shift to Daulatabad. On realizing the gravity of the threat from northwest, he decided to shift the capital back to Delhi. But when he realized that the northwest frontier was weak and he will not be able to keep an eye on the northwest frontier sitting in Aurangabad, then he again ordered the capital to be shifted from Daulatabad to Delhi. This caused lots of hardships to the people. Again, the people were made to shift from Daulatabad to Delhi. So the policy was sound, but the implementation was not correct. Now, token currency, another of his major foul-up. Another controversial step which Muhammad bin Tughluq took was the introduction of the token currency. It meant introduction of bronze tanka in place of silver tankas or taka. This was done because of the shortage of silver. So, to make up for the shortage of silver, bronze currency was introduced. But this experiment failed due to the circulation of counterfeit or fake coins on a very large scale. So, bronze compared to silver was very cheap, so counterfeit coins were flooded in the market. As a result of which, there was chaos in trade and commerce. Consequently, he withdrew the token currency, but the harm had already been done. Now, the third most foolish decision of his was taxation in Doab. Doab is the land tract of land between two converging rivers or confluence of rivers. Muhammad bin Tughluq wanted to conquer territories not only in India but also in Central Asia. For this, he required a large army and therefore large amounts of money to pay for the army. So, in order to get more revenue, he increased the land tax in the fertile region of Ganga, Yamuna, Doab. Now, increasing the tax in this particular region was fine, sound enough. But what happened? At the very same time, when he had ordered the taxation to be increased, a severe famine broke out in the area and the people refused to pay the extra taxes and rose in rebellion. But the tax collectors showed no mercy and took stern measures to collect the taxes. This made some of the peasants to abandon their lands and flee to jungles. So as it is, they were struggling with the famine. There was nothing for them to take care of the family with, and on top of that, when the tax collectors showed them no mercy, then they had no choice but to flee to the jungles and hide over there. Later on, Muhammad bin Tughluq realized how wrong the policy was, and he took effective steps to fight the famine and save the situation. He ordered free distribution of grains, advanced loans to the peasants, improved irrigation facilities, etc. But it was too late, and a number of people were starved to death as agriculture suffered a heavy setback in this Doab area. But whatever help came from the Sultan, it was too late. The harm had already been done. Then we come to his plan of conquest. Muhammad bin Tughluq dreamt of conquering the world. So he organized a huge army and paid 1 full year's salary in advance to his soldiers. So the state treasury is already empty. The coffers are empty. There is no money. Because he has already paid a full year's salary to, you can imagine, thousands of soldiers whom he wanted to fight in his army. He then decided to conquer Khorasan, Persia and Iraq. But after a year and following the failure of the token currency, Muhammad bin Tughluq abandoned the project and disbanded the army. So all these things, they were happening at the same time. The taxation in Doab, the famine, then the failure of the token currency, all these added to his woes, and this he had to abandon the project of conquering the world and he had to disband the army. Now coming to the Sultanate administration. The state set up by the Turks towards the end of the 12th century in northern India gradually developed into a powerful and highly centralized state. The Sultan was the supreme executive, legislative, judicial and military authority. All powers vested in the Sultan. The Sultan kept an eye on revenue and expenditure. He was assisted by a number of ministers. The key figure in administration was the Wazir or the Prime Minister. The Wazir supervised the work of the other officials. The final decisions were always taken by the Sultan. So whatever the decisions, legislative, executive, judicial or military, the Sultan was the one final authority on all matters. The minister in charge of the army was called Ariz-e-Mumalik. The Ariz was not the commander-in-chief of the army, since the Sultan himself commanded all the armed forces. The special responsibility of the Ariz's department was to recruit, equip and pay the army. That's where his duty ended. There were two other important departments, namely the Diwan-e-Risalat and Diwan-e-Insha. Diwan-e-Risalat dealt with religious matters and was presided over by the chief Sadr, who was generally a leading Qazi. A Qazi is a judge. The Qazi was the head of the Department of Justice and advised the Sultan on civil and religious matters. So, of course, the Sultan was being counseled by other people, important people people who specialized in their own fields, but the final decision rested in him. The Diwan-e-Insha dealt with state correspondence. Now, during the Sultanate, the empire was divided into provinces called ikats. Each province was placed under officials called muktis. To facilitate local administration, provinces were further divided into sheikhs and parganas or districts. The village was the lowest administrative unit. The officials who worked at the village level included the muqaddam, that was the village headman, the patwari, who was the record keeper, and the mushrif, who was the village accountant. Each village also had a panchayat to settle local disputes. So, everything was very thoroughly thought of and administration was sound. It was just the circumstances that these dynasties did not flourish for long. Now the nobles. The nobles formed an extremely powerful group as they held positions of provincial governors and military commanders. We have already seen how powerful nobles were, because Alauddin Khilji took strict measures to keep them in check. During this period, the practice of giving grants of revenue from a territory came to be known as the Ikta system. Those who were given iktas were called ikatas. Out of this grant, the ikatas had to maintain themselves, their families, and an army for use by the Sultan during war. When it says some soldiers over here, that doesn't mean that maybe 10 or 12 soldiers. A small army had to be maintained by the ikatas. When the central authority became weak, many of these iqtidars functioned as independent rulers of the territories under their command. Now with this we come to the end of the Delhi Sultanate. Not very difficult things to understand, just understand. You have to learn thoroughly about the noted rulers of the dynasty, mainly Qutbuddin from the Aibak from the Slave Dynasty, Alauddin Khilji from the Khilji Dynasty, and Muhammad bin Tughluq from the Tughluq Dynasty. Now the Sultanate administration is also very important. In the next class, ma'am will be uploading the written work from the chapter. Please make sure that you do all the question and answers in your fair notebooks. And please give the chapter a thorough study. In case you have not understood something, make sure you note it down and we will discuss it when the school reopens. Till that time, stay safe, stay blessed.